You never really see a developer threaten, issue ultimatums, and use terms like non-negotiable when it comes to putting their next game on a console manufacturer's platform, but that's exactly what Bethesda did when talking about Elder Scrolls Legends on coming to platforms that don't allow crossplay. Sony. Well, there's a ton of stuff here to talk about, so let's get into it, shall we? What's going on, guys? Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, back again with another video. And if you didn't get to see the Doom Eternal gameplay, I put it here for you guys to watch. It's pretty damn awesome, and since we're talking about Bethesda, I thought it would be appropriate. Now, man, crossplay's back in the news. I know a lot of you probably hoped it would go away after the whole Fortnite stuff, because quite frankly, it's not that big of a subject matter, but for a lot of people it is, especially considering Microsoft and Nintendo are playing nice with each other, and Sony, well, they're king of the mountain and they don't have to. Well, Bethesda takes kind of issue with the fact that Sony doesn't allow crossplay when it comes to Elder Scrolls Legends, and they may not allow that game to release on the PlayStation because of it. So actually, let's get into the quote and dissect what he had to say. Pete Hines, that is, of course. He sat down with Game Informer, and this is what the interview turned into. He goes on to say, Elder Scrolls Legends is a strategy card game that encompasses both single-player and multiplayer. Hines said, it is both cross-platform play and cross-platform progress. The interviewer says, I cut him off at this point to clarify that cross-play would only be on certain systems, since I figured this wouldn't apply on PS4. Hines replied, it is our intention in order for the game to come out, it has to be those things on any system. We cannot have a game that works one way across everywhere else, except for on this one thing. The way the game works right now on Apple, Google, Steam, and Bethesda.net, it doesn't matter where you buy your stuff. If you play on another platform, that stuff is there. It doesn't matter what platform you play on, you play against everyone else who is playing at that moment. There's no, oh, it's easier to control, or, oh, it has better frame rate on this system. It's a strategy card game. It doesn't matter. I asked him if that meant there's a chance it won't come out on PlayStation 4 if Sony doesn't change its stance. He goes on to say, we continue to talk to all of our platform partners, Hines said, but those terms are essentially non-negotiable. We can't be talking about one version of Legends where you take your progress with you, and another version where you stay within that ecosystem or it's walled off from everything else. That is counter to what the game has been about. I told Hines that Sony isn't letting Fortnite offer crossplay, and that game is the biggest thing out there right now. I'm aware, he said. I'm just telling you that's our stance, that is our intent, and that is our message. Not specific to anyone in particular, but to everyone we are talking about. This is 100% clear. This is what we are doing, what we need, and what we intend. So with those statements, the whole crossplay thing is just brought up to the forefront. And Bethesda's actually been in the news quite recently lately. They did the QuakeCon event, which showed off Doom Eternal. They were in the news for apparently trying to sue or block somebody for selling their used new game, which got gamers really angry. But then, of course, now gamers are really happy about this because a lot of people do want crossplay and cross-progression, and they see Sony as kind of a stopgap to that. Now, I've always said that I don't blame Sony for not doing it. In fact, you know, they're the console leader. They sell the most systems. They're the king of the mountain. They don't have to if they feel it's a detriment to their business. It's a business decision at the end of the day, and that is what they decided to do. Now, that may change in the future. Maybe they decide to do crossplay with the PlayStation 5, but for right now with the PlayStation 4, that seems to be off the table. Now, Elder Scrolls Legend is a card game. It's kind of like Hearthstone and stuff like that, so I understand it's a free-to-play game. They just want to make one version and let it be able to be played everywhere. But it's a small game. This isn't a huge game we're talking about here. So I do have to wonder, while I appreciate Bethesda standing up for what they believe in and what they actually want to make, like here they are saying, yo, this game has to work like this, and it has to have everything set up, and it has to work the same on every single console. Otherwise, we aren't putting it on every console. You gotta at least respect that stance of like making something and sticking to your guns about it. However, with that said, this isn't Fallout, this isn't Elder Scrolls, this isn't Starfield, this isn't Rage 2. This is a free-to-play mobile card game. I would even respect Bethesda even more if they tried to pull this with Fallout or one of their bigger games, but it's not. They can kind of get away with it and take this stance because it is a card game. They wouldn't be able to take this stance if it was Fallout or Rage or any of those other things because, well, you can't really... You'd be doing your shareholders and your stockholders a disservice by not putting the game on a platform that has 80 million potential customers. So you know what I mean? So it's like, I appreciate them sticking to their guns with Elder Scrolls Legends, but at the same time I realize they can do that because it's a small-time card game. If this was the Big Daddy, if this was Fallout 76, one of the biggest games of the year, and they tried pulling it with Sony, things might be a little bit different. They need those sales that the Sony PlayStation 4 is going to give them, just like they need the sales that the Xbox One is going to give them. It's an expensive game to make, and they need to sell as many copies as they possibly can. So that the cynic in me comes out thinking, well, cool, but you know what? You're not doing this with one of your biggest games, so how much is this really important to you? Now, of course, that didn't stop a lot of PlayStation fans from getting upset, and going on, who do you think you are, Bethesda? Who are you to demand anything from Sony? They have 90 million users. People always get angry, especially fanboys, when a company kind of issues ultimatums or demands from another one. And this happens. It's Sony fans, once again. Well, I shouldn't say Sony fans. Sony toxic fanboys getting upset that, the mothership is getting attacked. Because, everybody's a fan. Not every fan is always toxic, but definitely there are a lot of toxic Sony fans upset at the idea of Bethesda demanding this. Who are Bethesda to demand anything from Sony? We're never gonna buy anything they ever make again, and their typical toxic fanboy voices. But either way, it's dumb, it's stupid. It's just part of the game, man. This is how the game is played. Pete Hines wants crossplay for all of his games. They want the bigger user base, and this is just one step up the ladder or up the stairs to get to that point. And this is honestly probably the only way you're going to force Sony into doing that, is coming together as a video game community of developers who want crossplay and essentially with one voice say, it's non-negotiable. This is an ultimatum. We are threatening you. If you don't do this, then our game isn't going to be on your platform. And while Bethesda is just one voice for this game, sure, but what if it was Epic? What if it was Activision? What if it was EA? What if every developer started to say the same thing? It's non-negotiable. This is an ultimatum. Eventually, Sony would have to be thinking to themselves, you know what? This is starting to affect our bottom line here. We're going to have to change. But that's really, truly the only way to make crossplay happen, is developers kind of standing together and being like, we want this to happen, and if it doesn't happen, well, we're not going to put our game on the platform that is blocking barriers to the future. And that's just the bottom line, So while this is kind of just a small step, it is a step. A developer actually saying, we're not going to put our game on your platform. And maybe that eventually snowballs down the road into Fallout 5 isn't going to be on the platform, or Elder Scrolls, or EA says we're not going to put this game on there. Who knows? Probably not going to happen in that way. But this is really the only way, unless Sony decides on their own, with their own analytical evidence, that crossplay doesn't hurt. Crossplay and cross-progression actually help. And then they change their minds with the PlayStation 5. Either way, guys, fanboys, just take a chill pill, relax. It's just business, It's just a part of the game. Stop getting so defensive about anything when it comes to Sony getting attacked. And this also goes to Xbox fanboys. Don't get so defensive when somebody criticizes Microsoft. It's just a part of the game. They're trying to work behind the scenes, and in this case, wasn't behind the scenes, this was out in the open to try to force Sony's hand. Just like, you remember when Ted Price was talking about Sunset Overdrive and how Microsoft was the holdup there? Yeah, same thing. You know, trying to get something done publicly that they've been probably trying to get done privately. But anyways, guys, that is the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up, share it out on Twitter so more people can check it out. Hit that sub button, hit the notification bell. Also, today's the last day for the 1-year live gold, as well as 50 Xbox One digital games that I'm giving away on my Twitter. Twitter link is in the description, as it always is, if you want to get a chance to win that game and enter it. A lot of great games and a year of gold. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see everybody in the next video. I wonder what it's going to be about. Later, guys.